My husband and I became pregnant with our first last June. By this point we had already been invited to the wedding of a couple of friends, Jack and Jill. They were both friends with my husband at university, and I became close with them. They both knew of our pregnancy and were very happy for us. The wedding was in early December. By this point I was nearing 6 months pregnant. Jack and Jill reached out just before the wedding to say that they were going to make sure that I was as comfortable as possible and that the staff would be on hand for whatever I could need. Basically, it wasn't a surprise that I was pregnant at all. On the day itself, we were immediately pulled aside by one of Jill's bridesmaids, who said that if we tried anything to steal focus, she'd throw us out herself. We were shocked and confused and said that it was no secret that I was pregnant, since we assumed that's what she was on about. However, she just sneered and walked away. We tried to ignore that and carry on with the day. We were sat with some of my husband's old university friends during dinner, a couple of which hadn't known we were pregnant before seeing us. We chatted a bit about how excited we were and a couple of future plans, but conversation naturally moved on. A couple of weeks later, Jack got in touch with us asking if something had happened at the wedding that he'd missed. He shared a screen grab of comments from the bridesmaid and a couple of other people we didn't know in the wedding group chat, saying that the pregnant cow was the worst because she gloated about her pregnancy and didn't shut up about it all day. We said that never happened, and he agreed that it would be very out of character for us to be like that. Our little girl was born in March, so we haven't had a moment to sit down since then, but we intermittently hear from a few friends who attended that wedding that some of the guests still snipe about us being there and stealing the attention from the bride and groom. To be honest, we still have no clue what we did wrong other than be invited and have courteous enough friends who wanted to chat about our lives and make the day a bit more comfortable. Was it wrong for me to go to a wedding pregnant? Holy hell, not the idiot. That bridesmaid is totally the idiot. Guess what? Pregnant people are allowed to attend weddings and actually discuss being pregnant. I'm glad it wasn't the couple being the idiot about it. Jack and Jill seemed perfectly fine with it. I wonder if bridesmaid had other stuff going on and was jealous that bride was being considerate of you, but that's no excuse. Not the idiot at all. It sounds like that one bridesmaid took it upon herself to be offended on the bride's behalf and probably considered even talking about the pregnancy or baby as trying to upstage the bride. It probably didn't matter to her that those were quiet private conversations where you were the one approached. She may also be the only one complaining, and the others were just people hearing and believing her gossip. Perhaps they heard you mention the pregnancy, heard the bridesmaid complain about you announcing it at the wedding, and assumed that's what they actually heard and witnessed. But if the bride and groom aren't upset, don't worry about it. They're the only ones whose opinion matters here. Someone's clearly spent too long reading wedding horror stories about people proposing or turning up in a white dress and expected there to be drama. Obviously, when there was none, they just made it up themselves. Move on with your friends and your growing family and leave these people to eventually turn on each other. Me, 40, my wife, 40, and my son, 14, live on a big property. We have our main house and a little separate house, which is more like a big bedroom. We used it as a guest house before. All of us are quite introverted and independent. My wife works from home, so she sometimes got irritated with my son when he played video games too loudly. I do lots of mechanic stuff, like repairing cars, which is pretty noisy, and my son has always disliked when we had the guests over, but hates to stay in his room as it's too small for him. So, our solution was to move him into the guest house 2 years ago. He can always come to the main house, we eat together, play board games, watch movies, and then he just goes back. We checked on him a lot at first, but he keeps the house tidy and organized. I think it's good for our privacy as a couple, and, as he becomes older, it will be much better for him. We still have a great relationship. However, since he moved out, everybody pesters us about how unsafe it is and that something might happen to him and he might start using meds and whatnot. We have consistent fight with my parents and in-laws because he doesn't like the family gatherings and stays in his house, and they just blatantly call us bad parents because we chose an easy way to deal with him. I'm beginning to feel quite guilty about it. So, am I the idiot for letting him live by himself? No idiots here. This arrangement would not work for every child, but yours seems responsible enough so far. Your relatives are justified in worrying at least a little because it could probably go pretty wrong for other kids. Some teens could be too messy, lonely, rebellious, or dumb to be mildly self-sustaining in their own tiny refuge. And that also changes with age. But as it sounds right now, no idiots here. It's unconventional and that makes people uncomfortable, but it sounds like it's basically just a room, but instead of a hallway connecting it to the rest of the house, it's a yard. I'm sure that other parents of introverts don't see their kids much more than you do. The only drawback is that you can't really monitor who's coming and going unless it's a fenced yard, but that's such a non-issue for so many reasons that really, I think this is a great alternative. I do think you should insist on family gatherings though, assuming they're not like super common. There's a lot of stuff people don't want to do, but it's considerate to do it anyway. Not the idiot. This is how the kid learns having responsible behavior. As for the homework and how are you parenting and whatnot, some people are saying he will turn out just fine, he's doing his homework because you gave him this freedom. He won't do meds, like what the hell, a kid isn't magically going to do that, because that would happen if he has no bad influences, and having a space for his own isn't bad influence. So, I have this bridesmaid Anne who got into an accident back in 2014 that left her with multiple scars. One large scar on her back, two smaller but very noticeable ones on her right arm, and smaller less visible ones on her right leg. Now I have a niece, Jane, who went through a traumatic period in her life not recently, but is still recovering, and cannot see scars or anything that looks like a scar without having an anxiety attack. Jane is 17, and I've seen her an anxiety attack over a scratch on the wall that was shaped similarly to a scar. After an incident initially occurs, she can have up to 3 panic attacks within the next month. To elaborate, she has panic disorder. Jane barely leaves the house, unless it's to see her therapist, which she now has sessions with over Zoom. So coming to my wedding and being a bridesmaid is a really important event to her. She's also been working on a special dance she's going to do with my nephew at the reception, and has been practicing really hard. Even if Jane wasn't a bridesmaid, there is a very likely chance she'd come in contact with Anne at some point in the wedding. My bridesmaid dresses don't have long sleeves, or any sleeves for that matter, and I'm willing to pay alterations for the dress. The dresses are ankle length, except for Jane's, but there will be a dance the bridesmaids are doing, except for Jane, and there is a light chance the skirt of her dress will flit up enough that her scars on her leg. Though from where Jane is sitting she probably won't see, but I don't want to take any chances, so I would want Anne to wear dark tights or skin tone tights that would cover up her scars. I talked to my maid of honor about it, and she says I should just uninvite Jane from the wedding, so Anne wouldn't have to cover up, and Jane won't be at risk. I've talked to my fiancé about it, and he said that I'm in the right to accommodate Jane, but I can't expect Anne to show up. I haven't really talked about Anne in this post, but she's one of my best friends, and she deserves to be at my wedding. She's helped me get through so much, and I'd feel like I'm backstabbing her if I ask her to cover up her own traumatic life experiences to make someone else more comfortable. At the same time, I don't think that Jane's efforts should all go down the drain because of something she can't control either. But would I be the idiot? You're the idiot. Sorry, but Jane can't expect the whole world to adapt to her panic disorder. Those scars are part of Anne's body. It's unacceptable to have her dress in a special way because of them. What if all your guests don't get the no scar memo and Jane has a panic attack anyway? This level of event for someone who never leaves the house is just not really feasible anyway. Jane can either adapt or don't attend. I feel for Jane, I really do, but most people have scars of one sort or another. What about your other guests? I would imagine that the women coming will have summer dresses on, many of them knee-length. Knee scars are pretty common. I think your best bet is to prepare Jane that some people may have visible scars and make sure there's somewhere safe and quiet she can go if she has a panic attack. The world cannot be rearranged to accommodate Jane's triggers in this scenario. She needs to figure out how to cope or not come. You're the idiot. Talk with Anne and Jane and ask them to meet each other and see whether they can be compatible. If it doesn't work with both of them, try to talk and figure out the best solution. Anne might not join. Jane might not join. Anne might decide to cover up herself. But don't be the person asking her to do that. Be the person asking them to help you determine what's possible. So my best friend is having a destination wedding at the end of April at a very expensive hotel in Florida. Very shiny, pricey wedding. I am a bridesmaid. She had originally told me that they were going to be taking a look at how COVID-19 is closer to the wedding and would decide if they were going to cancel or reschedule then, which sounds fair. She texted me asking if I had booked the hotel for the wedding yet. I responded no, as I was waiting to hear the final call on whether or not the wedding was happening, really hoping it wasn't happening as realistically it probably won't be safe to have a 150-person wedding by then, and I feel immensely pressured to not back out. Anyways, she said they were going forward with a wedding regardless of COVID. She told me that I need to book a room at their hotel under their room block because not enough people have been booked and sent me the link. Now, we had not discussed a hotel prior. I was prepared to pay for my own flight and hotel to go to the wedding until I saw the price. The cheapest room option is $649 per night. Clarification. The hotel typically goes for $850 per night, so this is actually discounted. Some people suggested she might be upcharging me. This is unholy. I had no idea the hotel would cost that much as we hadn't discussed accommodations before. So, I texted her and profusely apologized, but I couldn't afford to stay at that hotel. I found a hotel literally one block away for $180 per night, so I asked if it was okay that I stay there. She was not having it. She told me absolutely not, I'm in the bridal party and had to stay at the hotel she picked. I asked if there were any bridesmaids, I don't know them well, that would be willing to group up and share a room. She said no, everybody needs their own room, so that they use all of the blocked rooms. Apparently nobody is booking there. I apologized again and said I just couldn't afford it, especially with the flights. She told me I was being a bad friend and that I should have never agreed to be a bridesmaid if I wasn't willing to sacrifice for her special day. Was I an idiot for not backing out when I saw that their wedding was at an expensive hotel and then requested to stay elsewhere? Has my wedding ignorance made me an inadvertent idiot? Or is it crazy to expect everyone to stay at a hotel that costs $649 per night without checking with them first? Not the idiot. One of the reasons for the high cost and your friend pressuring you is because her contract almost certainly included discounts for her honeymoon suite and possibly even her wedding if a certain number of guests booked at the hotel. In other words, she expected you and the other guests to pay for her wedding. I had a similar thing happen to me. I was a student in another state and she wanted to have her bridesmaids' gowns tailor-made. It cost around $150. On top of that, I had to get accessories, shoes, nails, hair, makeup, and bouquet that she wanted. All these out of my own pocket. I told her I couldn't afford any of these plus making a dress that I could only try on a week before the wedding seemed risky. After some back and forth, I told her I had to give up being a bridesmaid but was willing to help with wedding preparation and on the wedding day. She accepted and gave me tasks. After the wedding, she just cut me off. Not even a word of thanks. It is not worth investing so much. My best friends had a destination wedding in Hawaii. Her and her husband stayed at a very nice expensive resort. She understood that I and the other bridesmaid would not afford the same hotel. She was perfectly okay with us finding an Airbnb close to their resort. No issues whatsoever with us not staying at a resort. Your friend is unreasonable to expect everyone to go to her destination wedding and stay at the same expensive hotel that she decided to stay at. This happened during Christmas actually and was brought up now because somebody spilled the beans. Nice worky. This is between me, 19, my brother, 23, my classmate, 19, who is also my brother's girlfriend Q, and my friend E, 19. So my brother came to me before Christmas and asked me to pick a drawing tablet from the online store. When asked why, he winked and said it was a Christmas gift. Because of the ambiguity of that, I thought it was for me, as I study design and have recently mentioned that I wanted to change a tablet. I picked one of the better ones, one that I wanted for some time but was still saving up for. It was a few $100. My brother bought it without much hesitation. I was overjoyed. When the tablet arrived a few days before Christmas, my brother wasn't home. I took the initiative to open the parcel and started to use the tablet. I know it was a little rude, but I was so sure it was meant for me, so I didn't think my brother would have bothered. When my brother came back, I thanked him for the present, and my brother's confusion turned into annoyance when he saw that I have started to use the tablet. He told me that the tablet weren't for me, it was for his girlfriend Q, my classmate, who also studies design and wants a new tablet. I have always been a rather emotional, so this embarrassment and disappointment had me ended up sniffling in tears. I knew I shouldn't have, but I couldn't control it. My brother, being a softie despite still being mad, gave it up and let me keep the tablet, consider it a Christmas gift from him. He got Q something else for Christmas, something much cheaper. I also got my brother something as expensive as I could afford without leaving me hungry till New Year. Even if the tablet wasn't for me initially, I was happy to have it. I mentioned this to one of my friends, E, and she said that I was being a big baby and shouldn't have kept the tablet. Recently, for whatever reason that is, after months, E decided to tell this to Q. Q becomes very angry with me and my brother and claims that I am the big idiot for stealing her present from her boyfriend. My brother also had a fight with her and they are now in a phase of silent treatment over. Am I the idiot for keeping the tablet? You're the idiot. Just in future don't assume something is yours. Surely you have a smartphone and could have contacted your brother about it before cracking it open. You really twisted your brother's arm here with the crying. You should have just accepted it, apologized and returned it. Plus, if you could afford to get your brother an expensive present, why not just offer to buy the tablet you've already used so your brother can use the money to buy his girlfriend a new one? Also, if you couldn't pay the money in full, maybe your brother would be kind enough to say whatever is left he'll take the hit and that would be your Christmas present. You're the idiot for keeping the tablet. I do think some people on here are judging you too harshly for your emotions. I may be reading you wrong, but I got the feeling your embarrassment was the main reason for your tears. That certainly would have been my reaction in the moment. He did make it seem like the present was for you. But you still should have waited for him to give it to you. And when he told you it wasn't for you, you should have immediately apologized and returned it. I don't fault you for crying, but everything else was wrong. Even if all you did was open the package, that is a crime and would make you the idiot automatically. Then you doubled down by throwing a fit when you realized you were mistaken. You should apologize and use this as a chance to self-reflect and improve. You are only 19, you can do the work to realize why this was wrong and be a more thoughtful person going forward. I hope you take that opportunity.